Hello guys, Navneet here, back with another fragrance review. In today's video, we're going to talk about a fragrance from the brand Estiara. So Estiara Luxe जो है, this is actually a subsidiary of Sterling Perfumes. So Sterling Perfumes का subsidiary है ये. जो fragrance है दोस्तों जिसके बारे में बात करने वाले आज हम, that is Estiara Crazy Oud. Now Crazy Oud EDP concentration में आता है आपके. Is the box of the fragrance. So the box of the fragrance is quite good actually, right? And overall I think that the box is one of the reason why people go for this fragrance, because it's very huge. First of all, I think the cushioning is very good, and it's coming from Armaf. So yes, we can say that this is actually a good fragrance, but is the juice inside this fragrance really worth it? Is the bottle of the fragrance? The bottle of the fragrance looks quite sophisticated, looks quite clean, right? It looks very Middle Eastern. So when Middle East comes into mind, we have the golden cap and the yellow juice. So this is Crazy Oud Estiara, and this is actually a clone, you can say, or a cheap rip off. बोल सकते हैं दोस्तों आपकी एक क्लोन है या एक cheap क्लोन है एक फ्रेग्रेंस का, एंड दैट इज रोज ऊद. सो रोज ऊद सब सर्च करते हो तो 50 ब्रांड के आएंगे, बट द फर्स्ट फ्रेग्रेंस दैट कम्स इनटू when you search the rose oud is from the brand Kilian. So I think that Kilian rose oud needs no introduction. It is one of the most beautiful rose concoction you can ever come across, and this one is actually a clone of the fragrance. But is it actually worth buying? I don't think this is actually, because this smells very cheap, very synthetic, very raw. This fragrance could have some potential, but it's very synthetic, and that is the reason I don't like this fragrance. This has to be the worst buy for this year, because even after applying this fragrance, I think this fragrance is utterly sweet, utterly piercing. I think a lot of people might not like this fragrance because this is very similar to the fragrance that is Armaf Shades Wood. So Shades Wood से काफ़ी similar है दोस्तों ये fragrance, and the scent profile of the fragrance is also very similar to that fragrance, but this fragrance is a bit more raw, bit more edgy. I think that this fragrance should need, what it needs is more refinement. When we talk about rose oud concoction, people love rose oud only and only when the rose and the oud is equally balanced. Oud का क्या होता है? Oud is very rough, very strong if you know, and rose adds a sense of a floral touch basically to the fragrance, and इसमें वो missing है. And I love raw oud, but this one's actually very tough for me too, because मुझे भी ये fragrance पसंद नहीं है. And I've been using this for the week, and I think that no one has given me a compliment as of now, because people actually recognize the fragrance which I use, and people haven't even asked me even when I was wearing a lot of this fragrance. So this fragrance is actually not a good fragrance. The bottle is good, the packaging is good. Armaf का fragrance होता तो काफ़ी, I think this Shades Wood is actually a good fragrance, but this one's a cheap rip-off, and the cost of the fragrance is 1600 rupees, but this one I got from UAE, so this one cost me around 1200 rupees, but the box and the bottle is all I have paid for. I think the juice is not worth it, and after all of this experiment, what I can conclude is, if you're going to buy this fragrance, I think you should only and only buy this fragrance when you're looking to layer this fragrance with something more sweet. So if you have in mind, let's say if you're trying to layer it with a spicy fragrance, let's say, then you need an oud combination. So oud combination का जब भी आपको ज़रूरत पड़े spicy fragrance के साथ layer करने के लिए, you can use this fragrance, but otherwise I don't think कि ये fragrance एक fragrance है जो आपको collection में रखना चाहिए. Bottle अच्छा है, bottle collection के लिए आप रख सकते हो इस fragrance को, and I think these kinds of bottles are very easily available across the entire Middle East. So nothing special there too. The problem with this fragrance is it's very synthetic. So इतना synthetic भी fragrance नहीं बनाना चाहिए दोस्तों, because you should obviously keep in mind that the fragrance should settle down, and once it settles down, it should actually start projecting. So the projection of the fragrance is very very weird in sense that it has a good projection. I can't say this is a bad projection because that would be wrong, but the projection of the fragrance, I think that won't get you compliments, that might even get you notices, but people will be like, what kind of fragrance are you wearing today? So you don't want that kind of crowd, so I think you should avoid this fragrance, Crazy Oud. But overall it's still your decision. If you want a cheap rose oud concoction, you can go for better fragrances. I think I'll definitely make more videos on rose oud. I think a lot of people actually love that, and that is a topic which I have not yet covered. This is an EDP concentration, so it is very strong. Projection of the fragrance is good. Longevity is good again. Longevity is 8 plus hours. And that was about Estiara Rose Oud. Sorry, Estiara Crazy Oud. So I think that name justifies it. This is very crazy, very piercing, very strong, super strong. So if you want a very light fragrance, if you want something more sophisticated, I think go for better oud fragrances. We'll make a list on that very sure. I'm super sure we'll make a list on that very soon. And that was about Estiara Oud. Signing off, Navneet. I hope all of you have a good day ahead.